Yes, welcome back to another episode of Open Shutter, another Wednesday, the midpoint of the month. So Halloween's only a couple of weeks away, so that's super exciting if people are getting ready for Halloween because it's also great for photography. But enough about that. We have Christian on the program. Huge thanks to Christian for taking the time to talk about film photography. I know that we've had other people on to talk about film, but I think it's valuable to have other people on to talk about their experience and their approach and kind of their tips and tricks into like film photography. And if you're looking to get into film and ways to go around it and approach it, because I think there's just so much there, and it's great to have people like Christian on to like spread his knowledge. So huge thanks to Christian. If this is your first time watching this show and you don't know exactly what's going on, or if you're coming from Christian's side, I try to do this show every Wednesday and try to get someone on and talk about whatever it is that they make. It could be photography, it could be video, it could be painting, it could be like chalk drawing. If you make something, I'd love to have you on to come and talk about what it is you do, because I think there's a lot of valuable info on talking to people about what they like to do, because sometimes you can take something away from it. So yeah, follow Open Shutter on Instagram. Make sure you follow Christian on Instagram. All the links are in the description. And if you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, on the internet, thanks for watching and listening. And don't want to take up too much of Christian's time. So Christian, for the people that don't know who you are, maybe a quick intro about yourself.
Hi, I'm Christian. I'm a strictly analog photographer.
Yeah.
We don't use any digital
No digital.
cameras at all.
Love it.
I'm very passionate about analog photography, and
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, I know. Like, it's just, I guess, like I said at the start, we've had other people talk about film. So, like, how did you get into film versus digital? Like, was it always that way, or?
No, I think about 20 years ago, there was a big resurgence when I lived in the UK with the Lomo camera, which was like, there was the, lomography and stuff, and those little cameras. And it became kind of trendy, I think, to have a Lomo camera. And being a shallow youth, I think I got one just because I wanted to be with the in crowd. And then I fell in love with it. And I've always loved photography as art, and I've always really responded well to photographs that are artistic rather than just incidents, So I found with the Lomo, which was really interesting, is because it's got a really slow shutter speed.
Yeah,
I was getting really interesting kind of vibrant, colorful pictures, like almost like Kodachrome.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me hooked in.
So that's so cool.
Yeah. So that was good.
Where in the UK were you from? Did you live there?
London originally.
London?
Yeah.
I like London. Great for street, right?
Yeah, I was actually taking photographs of old derelict high-rise buildings, and they were almost like cathedrals of like the 1960s or something. They were kind of weirdly, there's weird architecture and stuff, and it was interesting. But I think the person I kind of responded to most at the time was William Eggleston, who does lots of really colorful pictures, and that's what the Lomo kind of like reinforced for me.
Yeah.
And then, but then I think also the Lomo camera for me, it was kind of limited. There's just an aperture, and there's no there's no shutter speed or anything like that. There's hardly any control, and if you're not holding the camera completely still, you get blurry pictures. Which is like
it's streaky. You get the unintended long exposure.
And they break easy as well. So you get like light leaks and stuff. And I kind of got frustrated with the Lomo after a while. And then I graduated to the Pentax K1000, which is like the one that the analog camera that I think people recommend as a starter camera. Like I know that the students at Ryerson, the photography students, kind of recommended to use that camera.
Can you still find that now?
I don't know. About a couple of years ago, people told me that, like Downtown Camera. But it's a great camera to, get to learn how to.
It's a good starter for a beginner.
Yeah. And it's a nice, sturdy old, machine. So.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So then you moved over here, and then you're still doing the film thing, and were you always in Toronto?
I've been in Toronto for like last 15 years. Yeah. But the photography really picked up, and maybe there was a period of, when you have your camera's been sitting on the shelf for ages, and you think, I should go out and take some photographs, and I never do. And I have a good friend of mine who's like a photographer as well, and we started this club about 5 or 6 years ago, and we called ourselves Analog Arseholes.
Love the name.
Because we were like swimming against the tide of digital
Yeah,
photography.
you guys are like rebels.
Yeah. So we'd have like AA meetings, so to speak. And
Yeah, that's funny. Do you guys have logos on like jackets?
yeah, we had like a badge and everything. We had like a
You
group of
still have it? Can you show it on camera?
it was awesome. It was awesome. We had like 5 or 6 people, and every month we'd share our photographs. And the only condition was that no digital. You had to develop the film and get a print and bring it in every month and stuff. So that was fun, and it got the juices flowing, you know. And
so these were friends, or was it like a meetup group?
Well, it was like friends. Well, it wasn't through. It was just through Facebook and friends and friends of friends. And we had like a good period where there was quite a lot of excitement. But I think a lot of those groups, if they're not kind of run professionally, they kind of die off.
Yeah. To me, it's like you just gotta be consistent.
Yeah.
You need to be consistent, so people know when to expect an outing instead of kind of guessing. Oh, maybe it's this week or next month or.
Yeah. Well, we made it interesting. Like one day we had like a developing negatives party, so we'd all put in the bathroom and stuff. So
really interesting.
So
well, again, that's the power of meeting like-minded people, right? That's just how you learn stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to start up an analog group in Toronto to meet other analog photographers and maybe like build a dark room and share some space.
Oh, buddy, it would be big, man.
Yeah, no, I'd love to.
It would be big.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like there's a really, I think, because it's so difficult in a digital age to do that when you get those results, they're kind of magical. You know?
Yeah. I've like other people that we've had on this show. It's like that, just feeling this like that waiting period, like that anticipation of did I get it? And then when you get it, it's like it's a great feeling.
Yeah. I mean, you know what you're looking at when you look through the viewfinder, but you're never because of analog. You're never completely sure how it's going to turn.
You're not completely sure it's that way because we're so used to like instant results, instant gratification now that. That's why I think film photography is so interesting because it's the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite of society, basically, where it's like.
Well, I think this is one of the reasons why I'm passionate about it, because I think digital photography has kind of made things a lot worse for photography art. Like, we're drowning in images, and like images are kind of throwaway and useless. And when you're doing digital photography, you can look at the images while you're shooting and like decide at that moment what's good and what's bad, right? And it's kind of throwaway, and I think there's something, for me anyway, it seems more authentic, like the process.
It's a good point because I mean, you could say that everyone's a photographer because everyone has a camera in their phone, but not everyone is a photographer. You have a camera, yes, but are you a photographer?
Yeah.
And there's always that, and there's like, to me, it's like it's mobile photography is convenient, but it's also like made all of us like it's such a saturated marketplace where you try to get like a gig, like a freelance gig, say like a small business, like why do I have to pay you? I just take pictures on my phone. It's like, well, you're not, you're not a photographer. I am. I can take better pictures. You won't say that. You won't say that to that person, but everyone thinks that they're a photographer now because they have a camera on their phone. And it's like, well, just because I have a needle doesn't mean I'm a doctor. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like it's the same approach. So
no, I agree. I think also it applies to art as well. Like not everybody can appreciates art photography.
Yeah, and I think it's not that mobile photography is devalued it, but it's just so saturated now. Like it's everywhere all the time. Like how do you know what's art and what's not? Like where do you draw the line of like, are you a professional or are you not? Like
I mean, you can even go to an exhibition and see somebody's glorified images, So I think there's something about the process for me that kind of throws me out of the kind of digital world we live in, and makes me appreciate the images more, I think. And there is something when you're working in the darkroom and you're seeing that print coming to life. I know it's chemistry, but coming to life in the pan, it's magical. It really is. It's like, wow, it's coming. I can see it. And like,
oh, no doubt. I think there's definitely a thrill to it. Like the process of doing it. It's like you're doing the full process from like, composing the shot, approaching the shot, thinking of the shot, like the full thing. The development is quite yeah, I'm sure it's quite fulfilling, and that's also what like separates people too, right? Is like that kind of like being able to wait it out.
Yeah, I mean, there is a kind of like dopamine rush a little bit when you put your film in to be developed, and then you come back a few days later, and you're wondering. It's like opening a Christmas present or something. You're like
Basically, yeah,
wondering what it's going to look like.
yeah,
So
basically,
there's something quite enjoyable about that.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
Did you want to like share that? I mean, I can share your Instagram if you want. You want to?
Oh,
Did you
please
want to
do.
go through
Yeah,
a few photos?
yeah. So
Can
I've
you talk
got
about the project that you're doing?
I've got a project at the moment where I'm
Okay.
shooting um, 100 portraits in 100 ISO, which is the film speed. So
Okay.
I'm always looking for people to pose. It's free, and I've done 51 portraits so far. So I just need another 49. So if you want a free
Yeah, you're
portrait
close, right?
in black and white um, film, I'll
Yeah, here you are.
gladly.
So first of all, go follow Christian here at in Martius.
I'm
Adventures
Martin.
in BW 35mm photography, music nerdy, and creative writing. I like the bio, man.
Thanks. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I'm always looking for people to. I want to have 100 faces and put them on a wall in an
Okay.
exhibition
So this
space.
is your ad for it?
Yeah, I've got like a bit of music there, and
Okay,
yes.
cool. Now you always shoot black and white, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think to start it was just because it's easier to do in the darkroom. And when I was doing it at the beginning, my friend had a darkroom in his basement, and we make the pictures there. But
I like it,
obviously,
man.
yeah. But now, like, yeah, we don't have access to a darkroom so much, but you can still produce it. And there's something about black and white that I find really,
Yeah, especially for portraits, though, black and white for portraits,
mm,
excellent.
yeah. I mean, you're painting with light, aren't you? So
Mhm.
I mean, there's lots of. I see this also the process of doing 100 portraits. It's almost like an apprenticeship.
Yeah,
You know, like I'm learning as I'm going along, and
of
I think
course.
at this point I'm in a real sweet spot with
Mhm.
the images I'm coming up with. I really love the work that I'm doing. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a great project. So if anybody wants to have a portrait, please get in touch.
yeah. So these people are like, are they friends or are they strangers mostly?
Friends and friends of friends and friends of friends of friends and people that say, "Oh, I had my portrait taken. You want a portrait? You want to take a picture of my friend? You know, or whatever."
Wow,
So, I mean,
interesting.
it stops over the pandemic, obviously,
Yep.
for a couple of years, but yeah, it's great. It's great, and I get to like, you know, it's always fun to do, and you get to meet interesting people and like take their picture.
Yeah,
So yeah,
how do you do you find people are nervous in front of the camera?
sometimes
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's an element sometimes where people feel like I'm taking a little bit of them, you know, like they kind
Mhm,
of wince a little bit when you're taking the picture.
mhm, mhm.
But the trick is to make them feel comfortable. So often I'll make a rude joke or something, or
Rude
you know,
joke.
or I'll just try and make
Yeah,
someone laugh, and then
yeah,
in that moment of when they're relaxing, I'll get the snap hopefully. So
okay. Yeah, I was
that's
just gonna ask you, how do you make people feel comfortable? Because not so like, sometimes it's not easy, so but yeah, I
no,
guess making a joke or something comical or
well,
lighthearted.
yeah, that works. But also, you know, just also there's that trick you do sometimes when you get somebody to stand to one side and you count
Yeah,
them in. So on the three, they turn and face you.
okay.
That's another way of doing it. But like most people I know, I kind of know, and they're comfortable with me anyway because they kind of know me. So
Yeah, it helps when they
it
know you.
does, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, someone can say, "Oh, just act natural," but, when that camera's on, it's the hardest thing to do because, some
sure.
people aren't used to that, right? So
It's funny when I've got the contact sheets back and I've looked at some rolls of film. I remember shooting one person and they couldn't help but pose, you know, put on like a face. And
yeah.
the one shot at the end of the shoot when I said, "Okay, we're done now," and I took one
Mhm,
more. That was
mhm.
when that person was at their most natural, and that was a beautiful shot, right? I managed
Yeah.
to capture them because I said, "Oh, we're over now. We're done," and
Yeah.
you know, and they stopped posing, so that was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's all timing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of just timing.
And also with light as well, like you have to be careful. Yeah, something that
you're not using any flash here, are you?
no,
No
no.
flash, no off camera, not like nothing. It's just like natural light, right?
I'm really simple. I've got a 50mm lens, no flash.
Yeah.
I use natural light. Uh, uh,
So do you scout before, like where the light's gonna hit? Like how do you know
yeah,
where to
I mean,
go?
I must admit, I did make a couple of mistakes in the early days. This is
Yeah.
all part of the learning process.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing I'm kind of tired of doing now is that everyone wants to have some graffiti behind them because it's such
Yeah.
a staple, right? So I've had so
Mhm.
many people with graffiti images, so I kind of want
Yeah.
to avoid that a little bit as I'm moving forward. But
It's
yeah,
got that urban feel to it, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I love this picture I just took
I
recently.
love this photo, man. So
Yeah,
good.
I'm really pleased with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how he's looking off camera too.
And the diagonal lines coming in down.
Yeah. Where is this spot?
There's a mural in Leslieville.
Leslieville, eh?
Yeah, I
That's a good
think
one.
John or somewhere. Not
That's a
John.
good one. Interesting.
Yeah, it's in
Do
Leslieville.
you tell them what to wear before
No,
based on where you're gonna go, or it doesn't really matter?
that's up to them. I want them to feel. I want to capture them. I don't want to like dictate
Yeah.
the
Right,
issues or
right.
anything. And like I want to try and capture them at their most natural as well.
Yeah.
And represent them rather than some artificial. But if they want to do, I mean, I've had a friend dress up in a Star Trek outfit before.
Really?
Yeah.
Which character?
She just had she was a Star Trek fan and she had like outfits. So, yeah, we did it in the graffiti alley as well. But whatever the person who's being shot can dictate, what they want. Really.
Yeah.
I just want to capture them.
This is cool. I like this.
That's the place near me. They've got lots of mannequins.
Yeah.
And they let me go in there and take some images of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
They're kind of weirdly
Yeah,
disturbing.
my friend Evans, I don't know if he's on here, but he learned how to light using mannequin heads.
Wow.
So, a mannequin can't say, "Are we done yet?" So you just use a
No.
mannequin head and just practice how to light a subject.
And they pose so well.
And they pose so well, right? Well, I mean, it's as real as you're gonna get to a real person. You just
Yeah.
need that person to be there for a couple hours and not say, "Are we done yet?" So,
Well, the guy that runs this place, he said to me that I can go up into his storeroom and take photographs of his disassembled mannequins that he's not used.
yeah.
So that'd be interesting photo shoot.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is a cool shot, man. I mean, I just like how you got the two looking off camera, and then you got the one dude kind of like not looking directly, but
Yeah.
somewhat to the camera. I don't know. It's interesting.
If you scroll that, there's some couple more there on that.
Yeah.
They're quite funny.
Mhm. She's not look impressed. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. You could do a whole series on mannequins too, man.
Yeah, I had a talk with a friend who takes pictures of mannequins as well. So there's definitely people that I've seen lots of pictures of mannequins.
Yeah, it's interesting.
On Instagram as well. There's something kind of uncanny about them, isn't there? So
it's just the fact, like the age that we live on with like AI and how like Elon Musk the other week created like a functioning robot. Like it's just like the mannequins and that kind of world, they sort of blend together almost, where it's like, is this thing real or is
yeah, it's a
you
bit,
don't know, right?
isn't it? It's a bit Blade Runner. So
Yeah, a little bit Blade Runner. But, what's like your favorite? Like, do you have a favorite? A couple of favorites of the ones that you've taken? That kind of
well, recent ones. I quite like the one of Toronto that I took, which is on the bottom right. Yeah.
That one?
No, keep going.
Oh, this one? Bottom
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That one?
I really like this pure silhouette, right?
Man. Is this by your place? Where is this?
It's in the Junction.
In the Junction.
Interesting. Yeah. And that was almost by accident as well,
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, I've discovered a lot of the Ilford film recently, which I really like. Ilford Delta 100, I really like, and the XP2 400 is awesome as well, and even the Kodak T-Max. They really I like the detail of the grain, like the fine detail. And this is one of the things that is kind of wonderful about film as opposed to digital, because I think there's more of a dynamic range with film than there is with like digital.
Okay.
Especially with black and white, because it's a different process. So you can get, I mean, black and white can be more forgiving for like mistakes and errors as well. But
yeah, true.
But there's something about, I don't know. I mean, you can compare digital and film, and I'm sure there's lots of similarities. But I think, I don't know. Maybe I'm fetishizing a little bit.
Yeah.
But I love the images that come back to me. They're like, it's quite satisfying.
Interesting. So, like a person starting out in film, like what's a tip that you give them about like buying? Say they're doing black and white, or whatever. Like, is there a tip that you can give someone about buying the right film stock?
No, and I think it's all about the eye to start with. It's not about technology. Like, get to learn composition. Like, learn to look at things in a certain way. Know where to put the frame. Like, then you can start building. I mean, you could do great photographs with a disposable camera.
Sure.
Like, it's all about the eye. You've got to have the eye, right, and you've got to be able to, I was looking at a book of Robert Frank recently, The Americans, which is quite famous, and it's all patterns. All these images like patterns and blocks, and there's something quite evocative about that.
Interesting.
But I would say for anybody, just if you've got a good eye, it doesn't matter what the tool is.
Yeah, exactly.
Simply don't make it too complicated for yourself, because I think sometimes with analog cameras, with the shutter speed and the aperture and the film speed, it can feel a bit overwhelming. So just start, small. I mean, I was lucky; I had a little bit of a mentor when I started. So
okay. Back in London.
Yeah, and I've got friends here, photographers as well, like who've been photographers for like since they were teenagers and stuff. So I've got a good community of people around me. But I think this might not be what everybody would say, but I would say just work on your eye. If you've got an eye, you're already halfway there, right? A lot of people tend to concentrate on the equipment a bit too much, I think.
Oh yeah.
And and if you can't make an image from what you see, it's useless.
Yeah. I mean, you can have the best camera out there, but if you don't know how to compose, then you've already lost the shot, right? So
yeah, sure.
I learned the same way, where like I just shot as much as I could, and then over time I began to learn like what all the buttons do, but I wasn't really keen on learning the technical details about like shutter speed versus aperture. I'm like, I just want to go shoot stuff. And then you meet people and they teach you some stuff, and then you keep going and keep going. Then over time, you're going to understand what everything does. But I think the hardest part is to keep going too. But
and also making mistakes is really important. Like if you make a mistake, you'll think, oh my god, why did this image not come out? Well, you decide not to do it that way again. Like way of learning how to do something is by making those mistakes, right? And charting your journey along the way.
Yeah. Do you ever go back to your old photos?
Yeah, all the time.
It's fun, eh?
Yeah.
That's a trip.
Well, like a couple of times, when you're there in person, what you can see with your eyes looks fine, but you have to be aware where the light is and stuff.
Yeah. Huge.
And also, analog fucks up a lot. So the film can get messed up in the developers, and will get caught in the, have double exposures and stuff, and it's a rocky road, but the rewards are worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the process, right?
Yeah, I'm really passionate about it, and I think that there's something really exciting and happy. I'm really exciting and enriching about the process that
it's huge.
It's great. And see the world reflected back at you in this way. It's
awesome. Because you're also like documenting like your journey too, right? Like it's cool. It's cool to look back when it's all documented.
For sure, and I think that I'm a much better photographer than I was even like 2 years ago. So I'm always learning. There's nothing. I don't think there's ever going to be an end point of this. Like, I mean, I do it very basically as well. I don't use lighting or flash or anything like that. So I can extend to that at any point. But it's a lifelong process, and I'm always learning something new about it, and it's always fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, you're never really done learning. Like it never really stops.
No, no, no.
Never really stops. Am I going too far down your IG grid?
It's more. This is more my life stuff, but yeah,
Are these your cats?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, two of them.
Awesome.
If you scroll up a bit, there's my friend Chris, who he takes pictures of, like, see the Judge Dredd one. That's me. It's Chris Blanchard, who's a good friend of mine, who's like an also a photographer.
That's a great photo.
He
Is
does
this
these.
taken outside?
Sorry.
Taken outside?
Yeah, it was like in the back street, but he does these kind of quite.
What a costume!
Yeah, it's awesome.
Jeez. Good timing for Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, I would recommend anybody to just go out there with a disposable even.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the when we had the Analog Arsehole club, we used to have challenges where 1 week we'd like take a picture with a disposable camera or something, and then bring it back, and so yeah, just go out and explore.
Yeah, that's the great thing about photography is that like there are no rules and you don't really have to ask anyone for permission. You just kind of go do it. Like to me, the hardest part is leaving the house, right? Like especially when we're getting close to winter now, it's gonna get cold and all that stuff. So you need to have like take your point about process. Like you need to have a way to like do the work so it doesn't become so like job like where you just need like, you need a way to do it. So whether it's like shooting at your lunch break or walking down the street or just shooting stuff in your kitchen, like you need like a framework to like do the work or else it's so easy not to do it.
Well, I think it's good to have a project or have like an overarching
project. Yeah.
Like I do the 100 portraits project, and that's something I do over a long period of time. But I have lots of smaller projects.
Yeah.
Amongst that, so with the longer projects, there's always an opportunity to shoot. I can always find somebody to shoot them. So, it gets me out of the house and for shooting regularly, which I think is a good. If you can have projects, ideas, and I mean, as you get more and more into it, you'll pick up all sorts of ideas and themes and follow that thread, right? So, I think that's the trick.
I like having a project because it gives you a focus too.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone that doesn't really know where to like go or they don't have a way to like focus on something. If you have a project, that automatically forces you to focus on something, and that kind of gets the ball rolling, and just makes you start thinking about like the work instead of like wondering what am I going to do today. Like, well, you have something to do. You're going to do the portrait thing, so now you got to think about like how you're going to do it. So, I think especially in the winter months when it's harder to like leave the house, if you have a project, at least it gives you like that push to like do it.
Yeah, and that light's great in the winter. So
yeah, I mean, the snow and everything.
Yeah, I do remember once being out and that my camera froze and the mechanism completely froze up. But I just took it to Downtown Camera and they said just warm it up.
So just warm it up, just give it a hug.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it takes. Do you have like a camera kit there that you can show real quick on camera or no?
Well, I just got my Pentax here. This is the K1000.
Okay.
Standard camera.
How does it sound? When you click the shutter. You got film in there?
No, I haven't. But it's fine. Yeah, it's a mechanism. You can feel it. It feels. That's the other thing about it. Analog. Is it? There's a weight to it, right? A physical weight.
A physical weight.
And you can feel the mechanisms working, so it feels more tangible.
Feels like you're actually taking the photo.
Yeah, and the mechanism is working for you. You hear it and feel it, and with I mean, I'm not gonna be like against using a phone or anything, but like, there's a difference, definitely.
Oh, it's a huge difference. We've had other people on the show that are into film, and they love the sound on the shutter. They just love that sound.
Yeah. And like if you get a Polaroid as well, that's even fun. That's a fun camera to have.
Yeah.
That might be a fun thing to try out for people as well. Like, I mean, it's quite expensive now
Is
because,
it?
well, I think the people that made the film, I mean, it's really expensive to get Polaroid film. You can get it, but it's like a lot of
Why is
money.
it so expensive?
Because I think the Polaroid kept the patent, and the people that tried to, I'm not sure what the details are now, but like years ago, there was another company that produced Polaroid film, and
Oh.
they didn't quite get the chemistry right.
Oh no.
So yeah, you'd spend quite a lot of money and only get like 6 exposures or something, and you take like, it wasn't instant, it would take an hour to develop or something.
Oh no.
So, but they're fun cameras for sure.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. Like, where do you think the future of film is? Like, do you think it's gonna get as big as digital, or it's like,
No,
where do you think it's gonna go in the next 5 years?
I still think it's a niche
Yeah,
interest for a lot of people. Like, I mean, companies financially who make film, I don't think they're making any profit really. I mean, the resurgence it's not like the vinyl resurgence was or anything.
yeah,
I think digital photography still dominates, obviously. I'm not sure. You'd have to ask people in Downtown Camera because I think they
yeah,
do really good business there, and there is a real resurgence for sure. But I can't predict. I mean, I don't think it'll ever go away, and I don't. It's not as difficult now to develop film as it was maybe 20 years ago when
yeah,
digital first came along. But it's still kind of a niche thing, and I think the difficulty of it, not just the difficulty of learning how to do it, but also trying to get your prints developed readily
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
It puts people off because you have to make a lot of effort. Whereas with your phone, you can just pick it up out of your pocket. But I don't know. I have to ask
Yeah,
people.
I don't know. Like, when did films start to come back? Like, how many years ago now did it actually start coming back into like the public
Probably
sphere?
about 5 or 6 years ago, I think. For
Yeah.
me, that's when I first started noticing it.
Did it come after the vinyl started to come back?
I guess I don't know. I think people generally feel kind of a sense of dissatisfaction with like the accelerated culture we're living in, and
Yeah,
and that there's an element of like comfort that comes with. I mean, for people that were around when analog cameras were around the first time around, it's familiar. But then
yeah,
there's the novelty aspect as well for people now.
yeah,
They want to try something new out, I guess.
yeah.
But I'm not sure. I don't know how big it's going to get. I doubt it's going to. I mean, I'd love it to, really would. But
Imagine,
sorry.
imagine like a phone camera shoots film. That'd be something.
Yeah, I mean, you have phone cameras that mimic film images,
Yeah,
don't
it gives you a film of like, yeah, the film. You put a
they?
film grain on there or whatever. But it's not the same
Mhm.
thing, really. Like, it's not,
But
yeah,
a lot of the places have discontinued a lot of the film, so it's
yeah.
financially viable for them. So I
So
don't
we
know.
got downtown camera in Toronto, like, and there's a place by you that does film too.
Yeah, Best in Image. It's on Queen and Lansdowne. They're like a little
Yeah.
corner store. He develops film. Um, there's a place at Bathurst, West Camera. Is it West Camera?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Toronto Imageworks doesn't do it anymore, and I don't think Henry's Camera do either. Like, you
Mm,
can get it done at Henry's, but they'll mail it to Quebec
yeah.
or something. So, yeah.
Interesting.
But Downtown Camera is the place. It's free advertising for them.
Free advertising. Well, it's a great time for the sponsor of the show. It's Downtown Camera. We
Right.
free film for everyone watching this.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Um,
they're great, and they're really helpful, and they're so knowledgeable about the process and everything. Yeah.
yeah, like it's a great resource if people will have questions. Definitely go there because they know their stuff. And I was just saying offline about like I think people are curious about film. They just don't know where to go and how to start and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
ask Christian, go to Downtown Camera, but two great spots to start. You were talking about like you know using your eye more. It's like how do you usually approach a shot? Like what do you like? Do you have a process when you try to compose a shot, or is it just more of like a gut feel when you're there?
Well, with the portrait, I like to have a shallow focus, so the background is a little bit blurry.
Yeah,
I like to have a slow shutter speed, so around about 125 or 60. But apart from that, I just want to get like I don't I do landscape shots for the portraits, and
yeah,
I like to get not as extreme close, but as close enough to see somebody's face, right, and have
of
that
course.
translate into the image.
Yeah.
I think when I first started, I was a lot further away, and as you get more confident, you get closer in,
You
right?
get closer, yeah. It's like,
Mm.
"You okay now?" Like,
Yeah, exactly.
"Close."
Right. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
um,
there is a yeah, for sure. There
I
is
mean,
that element of, like, personal space,
there is something, and this is why I do the project. There is something magical about the human face that if you can translate that into an image, um, that's amazing. Like for me, and that's what I want to do. And
Yeah.
if you're far away, you're not getting it, are you? So um,
No.
that's the thing that I find really fascinating about it. And I think that people are so used to like editing their images, you know, and like but to have a raw image of taken with a camera that is not
Yeah,
manipulated too much by
sure.
me. I mean, I could manipulate the focus and the light, but it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's what you see is what you get to a certain extent. There's something quite powerful about that, right? And those moments when I've caught that special something that you can't put into words because the picture says it. That's the magical moment.
Yeah. Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. No, it's yeah, because yeah, 'cause some of us, we love the editing, Photoshop, Lightroom, and all that stuff, but to
Mhm.
have, like, a raw image that comes out the way you want, I think is definitely something to be proud of for sure. Because it's not easy, you know?
Sure. I mean, I do obviously look through the viewfinder and decide what to take, but I think
Yeah,
people are so used to manipulating, even on Facebook or whatever, or social media. You're so used to
yeah,
manipulating how you look to other people that to do something
indeed.
differently is kind of interesting. Um, and I want to try and capture something that is genuine and authentic about the person. Uh, if I can, it doesn't always work, but
Yeah,
that's the intention,
yeah.
And I think people respond to faces even if you
No,
don't know.
yeah, exactly.
So I mean, like even like pictures of people like that Diane Arbus used to do, they're so evocative and like
Yeah.
really powerful. The look in the eyes, the stare into the camera, the
It's
way
it's
they're
all
feeling.
it's all about the eyes, isn't it?
For sure.
It's all about the eyes, isn't it?
Yeah, like you have to make sure you get the whites.
Yeah, yeah.
Lots of the eyes.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially after COVID, I think people want, like, a connection too. They want some sort of, like, people wanna be understood, and I think, doing a portrait is a great way to, like, achieve that because you're getting that person, hopefully you're getting that person's soul, right? So, um,
I mean, it hasn't always
hopefully
worked.
understand.
I've had a couple of people who haven't liked their picture, which is fair
No?
enough. And I've said, fair enough, I'm not going to publish it. So if you don't like it, that's fine.
Really?
So yeah, not everyone's
What was
happy
wrong
with
with it?
nothing.
They didn't
I
like
thought it
it.
was great. But people, it's their subjective experience and it's their how
Yeah.
they feel about themselves, and I respect that.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
people some people are disappointed with the image that's come out as well, and they'll let me use it, but not
Yeah.
everyone's happy. Not everyone likes to see themselves reflected back at themselves, including
Yeah.
myself. I don't think I'd
I
like
think
that
it's a human nature thing. I think it's a human nature thing for all of us,
for sure.
you
So
know?
yeah, I mean, if I feel honored to be able to be in this process and to reflect people back, in a way
Yeah.
that I hope is genuine. That's my
Yeah.
intention.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work. People don't always like it. Sometimes the process messes up. Like recently, I took some great photographs of somebody and the film got messed up, so I had to ask them to come again. Right?
Yeah.
Finally
Yeah.
did it. They kindly did it, and we got some great photos. So
Okay.
there's hit and miss analog. That's the thing about digital that makes it maybe appealing is that there's not so much room for mistakes.
Or maybe happy mistakes, but,
Yeah, yeah, but
I
it's
mean, you
annoying when
can't you can't you Yeah, go ahead.
It's annoying when you expose the film or the developer has like messed it up, or the
Yeah,
film gets caught in the advancer, and you've got loads of double exposures and stuff. So yeah,
yeah,
that's all part of the process, and
yeah,
especially when you're dealing with other people, you have to be. It's their time, and I don't want to like waste their time. And
yeah,
very kindly, this person recently said they do it again, and that was great. But
yeah.
luckily for me, that's happened just the once so far.
Yeah, I mean, you can't control the film messing up. I mean, you can't control
Yeah.
that. So what are you gonna do? It happens, it happens. But
I mean,
uh,
ideally, I'd like to have my own studio and then be able to do it all myself. I mean, I
yeah,
can't afford that at the moment, but
then you
my
control the full process.
yeah, like there is an element of giving over to somebody else to do, and it doesn't always work. Um,
Yeah,
and often a lot of these labs are just digital labs, and they just run it through a machine, and all the
yeah,
images come out great, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd like to have my own dark room and studio, but that's a long way off right now.
Long way off. Yeah.
Mhm.
Where do you want to take this project? You want to like take it like is there like a bigger idea you have in mind after you finish this? Like do
I'd
you have
like
other big plans?
I'd like to have it in the exhibition space, and I want to have it big
Yeah.
enough to be all 100 faces on one wall,
That would
and
be cool.
yeah, yeah,
That would
and
be
it's
really cool.
overwhelming, right? So
Like, on like at like Union or something, like on freaking a Union Station, have it there.
yeah, I mean, I'd love to do it, like, and to have 100 faces, that'd be quite something. That's
Yeah,
the end goal. But
yeah,
for a lot of it, it's the process rather than the
yeah.
end result, right? It's the process of it is great, is really enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like if you don't enjoy the process, then you won't get very far because I always say on this show, like you need to do it for yourself first. Like you need to like do the work for yourself and like, make sure the other person like is satisfied. But once you do it for like external validation, typically it doesn't go very well. So to your point, as long as you enjoy the process, then you have a solid foundation to build upon like the next project and the next thing and all that stuff. So it's good that you said it like you enjoy the process because it's so important.
I think also, I mean, for me as a creative person, like there's an element of being lost in the process when you're lost in the flow,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the end result becomes irrelevant. It's just to be in the
yeah.
moment of that
Huge,
process,
huge.
and like you forget everything else is around you, and you're just
Yeah,
that's a magical place to be. And I think
yeah.
there's a Hungarian psychologist who talks about flow as like
Flow. Yeah,
a
yeah.
sense
It's
of happiness.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's how all the greats in any kind of like industry or area. That's how people become great because they just get so absorbed in like the process and not the result because they know that over time they're going to perfect what they do to make the best thing possible. So uh,
mhm.
it's good that you said that too, right? Because I think people, especially like we said, people are just used to instant gratification. They want like the home runs all the time, but it doesn't really work that way. Like you need to be able to be patient and put in the work and just like be persistent, right? So
And
and
also,
not everyone's down for the work, right? Like not everyone wants to do the work. So
well, also I find, I mean, my mum was an artist as well, so and I grew up
mm,
around artists, and it's not about the end product a lot of the time, and when you do get the end product, it's never quite as satisfying as you
never what you think it's going to be.
right, and then that what spurs
Yeah,
you on. So it's the process for me for sure.
yeah.
But I would like to definitely have 100 faces on a wall.
I'd be super. I hope you do it, man, because that'd be super cool.
I will for sure.
It's
I'm past halfway point now, so
Yeah. Like,
mm.
do you like not a deadline, but do you have like a rough timeline of when you want to finish this?
Oh, sometime before I die.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, well,
Well,
people, if you're listening, watching, and
mm,
if you're in the Toronto area, you want
yeah,
your picture done, message Christian on Instagram
sure. Yeah,
because he'll do it.
yeah, sure. I'll come to you and we'll just do it. It has to be outside in the
Yeah.
daylight as well, because I don't do it in the evening because of the light.
Do you
Uh,
prefer morning or evening?
well, I mean, I'm flexible, but like ideally it would be like the golden hour, wouldn't it?
Golden
But
hour. Yeah, of course.
yeah, but yeah, I'm flexible. But I just because I don't use a flash, it would be outside
Yeah, you need to. Yeah.
and in
So
the
what
day.
happens if it's overcast and like dull that day? Do you reschedule, or you just make the best of what you
No,
have?
I open up the aperture.
Open up the aperture up.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, because you can't control like where the light's gonna go, or if it's gonna be overcast or whatever, and
yeah,
you know. But
yeah. I
uh,
mean, I've learned a lot in the last 2, 3 years doing this project.
yeah,
So
which is
I know.
good, right? Because that's how you learn, is just by doing the work. Because then you're gonna, instead of like people thinking about it and analyzing and planning, it's like just start doing it, and
Mhm,
you're gonna figure stuff out, and you're gonna learn stuff, and you're gonna make mistakes. But I think to me, it's like whenever you just like actually do the work instead of like thinking about it, there's so much more value to that, because you gain so much more knowledge from just doing it.
and there's nothing wrong with making mistakes.
Yeah, I don't even like calling them mistakes. I just think that's just part of like you said, the
Mm,
process. Like this is how, okay, don't do this, do this, don't do this, do that. I mean, that's the only
mm,
way you're gonna learn,
mhm.
because you can't in your head forecast every single problem that's gonna come about, because life doesn't work that way. It's only when you actually start going into like the weeds, you're gonna discover, oh, I now I know. Oh, now I know. So
Yeah, and
there's so much more value to that,
there's even more problems with analog. Like a couple of my friends and I, we're always going, "Oh, bloody analog," because it would do some it would fuck up some way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So there's even more problems with it, but that's all part of the challenge.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think people sometimes get too bogged down with the minutia of whatever it is. Like just start doing it, and you're gonna see it's not as bad as you think it's gonna be.
I think maybe it just seems a little bit overwhelming from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that's again getting bogged down with like all the minutia of like whatever it is, right? But like once you kind of break it down into like reasonable steps,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
break it down. Like don't make it so hard for yourself, because again, like when you're not really accountable to anyone but yourself, like it's so easy not to do it. But when you decide to do it, then that's when you gain so much more knowledge, instead of just like, going on YouTube and listening to whoever. Just start doing it, and you're gonna
Mhm.
see like
Well,
whatever it is. Whatever.
that's with any creative practice. Like,
With anything. That's what I
yeah,
mean. With anything. Anything.
I mean, the only way is to make it happen is to do it yourself.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, like I think like when you do it, like you automatically separate yourself from a lot of people, because a lot of people are just out there just thinking about it. And when you actually do it, you to me, this is my personal opinion, you've automatically put yourself in a different bucket, because now you're doing it. So now you're like over there, and the other people are thinking about it, and they can say whatever they want, right? But I mean, like, unless until you do the work, then there's not much people can say to you, because how do you know? Have you done this before?
Right.
You know what I
And
mean? Like,
life is short. No time like the present.
yeah, yeah, especially after like I Kate talking about COVID still, but like
Mhm,
especially after COVID, like you just have no idea what's gonna happen in the future, and just start
mm,
doing stuff. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
What's the worst that can happen, right? Nothing. That's like the worst thing that can happen.
It's already happened.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, like, but
No.
I don't know, it's just again, also to your point, meeting like-minded people, I think is super important. People that can, like, support you and teach you stuff, and you can have some fun. Don't
Yeah,
forget to have
I'd
fun.
love to meet more analog photographers in Toronto and, like, build a
Yeah,
community. Maybe we could build a shared darkroom space, and I've got equipment. I've got the enlarger
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, I just need a studio. But, yeah, and just learn from each other and, like, get inspired and, it might even start analog arseholes again.
you should, man. I think
Yeah.
you should.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I
I would
think
love
you
to see that because I feel that there's so much more to learn from the just not just analog photography, but photography. Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
was talking to one of our mutual friends about lighting recently. Like, I
yeah,
learn more about that, for example. How to
huge.
get Rembrandt
Yeah,
triangle and so on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's just, again, to me, it's like when you actually, like, meet people in real life, and just I don't know, it's more fun too. Like,
Mhm.
just have some laughs, and maybe you go for a beer and talk some stuff, and it's fun. Like, it just, I don't know, it's just it's a social thing too, right? And I don't know, I
Yeah.
think it's super, super important.
Yeah, no, it's great because I mean, when we had the group before, there was like moments when people would say, "I don't know how I made this image, but look what I've come up with." Like,
Yeah, yeah,
there's you're pulling the rabbit out of the hat a little bit. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, it's good to share. I mean, we all want to share our work, and especially when you're in a good group like that, I think
Mhm.
there's a because we all need support, we all need validation, and that's just what it is. Like, that's just how we all are, and having the right group of people is important. Because if you're in the wrong group, things can get pretty nasty, right? If
Mhm.
people are, oh, what are you doing? Ah, you
Yeah.
don't know how to use a camera? Like, what?
I think encouraging, you know, you can find lots of people that are really into photography in Toronto. I mean, Toronto is a great city for creatives, especially in the neighbourhood I live in, around the West End and stuff. Um,
Yeah,
and there are lots of great. I've been to so many brilliant photography shows in the city, and met
yeah,
other really brilliant photographers. So you
yeah,
know, there's a rich a seam of talent and like encouragement there if you want to look for it.
absolutely, 100%.
Mm.
Quick question: what's your favorite spot in Toronto to shoot? Is it
Oh,
in your neighborhood?
no, I quite like that cemetery in
Mount
Cabbage Street.
Pleasant?
What's it called? Yeah,
Mount Pleasant?
yeah, it's got that Victorian vibe to it. So, yeah, I like that area.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
Yeah, I think that's an element of being a goth when I was a teenager. I still
Yeah.
quite
Well,
partial
Halloween
to.
is coming up, so it's also a good time.
Yeah, and I like a
Anybody
cemetery.
wants a portrait taken in a cemetery. It's great
Yes,
for Halloween.
yeah, exactly. So, the pumpkin parade. That's what we're gonna go
Yeah,
to.
you showed me. Yeah, yeah. That stuff
Mm,
too. Super cool.
yeah.
Um, I don't know.
So,
I love this time of year for photography because there's so much to shoot. So
mhm.
I like the fall. I like October. I think October is my favorite month for photography.
The light's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's my favorite month in the
And
entire year.
do you have a place?
Got a place to shoot?
Yeah, that you like a lot.
Oh god, I have so many places. I actually like driving around the country and just like finding like old farms to shoot with like
Wow.
pumpkins and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I like
yeah.
driving
Awesome.
around. Yeah, I like getting out of the city a lot.
Mhm,
In the city, I don't know. Evergreen Brickworks is nice in the fall with the
mhm.
leaves. Obviously, High Park, all that stuff. Where else do I like to shoot? Um, yeah, Evergreen, High Park. Also, there's a place called, I forget it now. Kor- Korea Park in Mississauga, I like to shoot. They have some really good foliage there.
Mhm,
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I'm all over the place with like location scouting because I like bouncing around a lot. So
mhm,
yeah, I just like the month in general because yeah, like you said, like the light's really good, and I don't
mhm,
know, you get that crisp. I don't know. There's that feel in the air about like autumn and fall and like Halloween, and you get like the pumpkins and everywhere, and you get like the I don't know, people are dressing now in like jackets, so it's even better for street because you get some cool characters and sometimes, and
mm.
it's interesting.
That's the problem in Toronto is, well, just in this part of Canada, is that the spring and the fall are so fleeting, right? Compared to other places, like the winter
Yeah,
and summer are so long, and the kind of,
yeah,
for me, the magical seasons, like the fall and the spring, are just a month or something.
yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? It's a good point because, like, like when like the leaves start to go, it goes pretty quick. So
Yeah, yeah,
you only have this short window to like grab it.
exactly. And the
Whereas
colours,
like winter is like 5 years. So
yeah, it feels like it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, is it spring yet? Like, only
yeah.
December. So
But even the spring is like really fleeting as well, and that's a
yeah,
beautiful time usually.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so you just catch it when you can.
Well, you have to, and like the thing with like you can't wait, like especially now, like, you need to like go like either like if you want to do like landscape photography for like fall.
Mhm,
The thing with doing like landscape photography in the fall, if you go on weekends, it's always so busy. So you gotta like go during the week because like the weekends just like it's just too many people. It's not even like, it's just too much. Like, you need to like, it kind of ruins the vibe of being like out in the country, like just chill and serene and quiet. So
Right. Yeah, like the blossoms in Hyde Park, right?
yeah, like that madness. So
Yeah.
it's like you're in the mall when you're doing cherry blossom
You're in the
design.
mall of nature.
Yeah, like the mall here. It's like, oh my god, it's just yeah, it's just it's like, to me, it's like, if you're gonna do like landscape photography, like there has to be like a vibe to it where it's like
No people.
no people, it's quiet, it's peaceful, it's relaxing, versus like, trying to find a place to park and for like 20 minutes. So
Mm.
but yeah, it is fleeting for sure. Like, you really like, it's just like, it's like, I can't believe how fast time is going, right? So it's crazy, man.
Yeah, the one thing I had to learn when shooting in the winter was obviously the glare from the snow, right? With the
Yeah.
light and stuff. That was something that was
Yeah.
a surprise first few times.
And how'd you fix that?
Practice. Make mistakes, practice. Make
Yeah,
mistakes, try again. It's always it's like, you learn, you look up, talk to friends, you find out, like you find out your focal lengths, you realize how you can get everybody in focus.
right.
When you do one picture and doesn't come out quite how you imagined it to be, and then you realize you were doing something. So that's the journey that I find really interesting.
Yeah, the funny thing is that we're all on the same kind of like journey. We're all on the same kind of path. Just people are at different points on the path, right? So um
But it gets to a point where it's instinctual. Like, you'll learn rules of composition, and then you'll break them, and then but you'll know instinctively where to put the frame and what
yeah,
looks you, right? You don't have to
yeah.
follow things strictly to the rule or whatever. And mistakes.
Once you understand the rules, you can break them.
Yeah.
Once you understand it, I'm gonna
Yeah.
break it. Because there are no, I mean, there are rules, but there really are no rules, because this is art. I can do whatever I want. So
Sure, there's lots of bad pictures out there as well, right? So
yeah. What's your favorite rule to break?
try and shoot in low light conditions, inside without a flash.
Oh yeah.
I like to try that sometimes, and I've got some interesting images from it, just because I know, your light meter's not picking up anything, and you're not going to get much. But sometimes I've deliberately wound the film so I get double exposure, because that can be really interesting, and that's something you can't replicate in digitally. Double exposures is total analog mistake. So that's a fun thing to do. In fact, on one of the Lomo cameras, they have a button on the bottom of the camera where it freezes the advancer, so the image will shoot over the top of the one previously.
Okay.
So you can actually deliberately make double exposures, but sometimes triple exposures even. Like, some of them are really interesting.
Really? Wow.
I'll show you later. But I took some interesting pictures of just the inside of a streetcar, and it doesn't look like, I couldn't tell it was a streetcar.
Really?
It looks like an abstract painting or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
there's
something you can do and experiment with. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Hey, Evans. We're coming up to the hour, man, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. So do you have any final thoughts for the audience, like tips, tricks?
Well, thanks for listening to me ramble on about analog film. And if any of you want to have your portrait, please get in touch.
Yes, if you're in the Toronto area, you want your portrait taken, especially for Halloween, and a cozy environment like a cemetery. Christian's your man.
Yeah, and I work quick. Like, I'll do it. I get it all done within like 10 minutes. So
10 minutes?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. So
I only need one shot. Done.
I only need one roll of film. That's what I say.
Yeah, I only need one roll of film.
Yeah.
Good to know. 10 minutes. That's pretty good, man.
Thank you so much.
Huge thanks again to Christian. Again, Toronto area. You want your portrait taken? Message Christian. His IG is in the description of this video. Check him out. And thanks for watching, listening. And we'll see you next week for a different guest about something else. And have a great evening.
Thanks.
Peace.